I think everyone needs a pushback, some sort of pushback to whatever it is they're doing, whatever idea they're trying to convey, whatever goal they're trying to pursue, or just in everyday life. Everyone needs some sort of pushback, or even just regular push in the right direction. People are going to have their own opinions and everything, and their own values and beliefs. But at the end of the day, we're kind of just all living with each other, right? This IRL is like a multiplayer game, and it's based off the experiences we have with other people. It's not a single player game. It's like our ideas and the way we conduct ourselves, the way we act, the way we are, our personalities, they only work because of other people. So the thing is, if we're too much into our own ideas, if we dive too deep into our own ideas and just listen to the people that align with those ideas, we'll go to a very extreme side and we'll sort of like lose contact with the opposing side, because every idea or action or goal takes into consideration both sides. You know, whether this is a whatever it is, it's whether it's a preference thing of like McDonald's versus Burger King or whatever, you know, or whether it's a political thing or just a choice between two similar products, you know, they take into consideration both sides. This is why people say competition is good, right? It's because if you just have one company controlling everything, then they'll just do whatever the fuck they want. At first they'll start with a good goal because they had competition, and then they'll shit on the competition, and there will be no other competition, and they can just, the company can just do whatever they want. They'll stray so far off to one side of the scale, wherever their ideas leaned, and then they'll just run with that. And there will be no other force, no other company to counterbalance it, to cater to the other opposing side. And this is just sort of a thing of preference when I'm talking about sides, you know. I don't know specifically what it could be, but it could be like, oh, maybe some people prefer the color blue, maybe some people prefer the color red, maybe some people prefer thicker jackets, some people thinner ones. I don't know, maybe some people prefer like an economic version of a product, and then some other people prefer a very high end, but also like unreasonable cost type of product. You know, like maybe like Apple versus Android or something like that, or Mac versus PC, things like that. You know, Nike versus Adidas, whatever it is. It's like people they each lean to cater to one side of something, one side of a preference. And I think this lines up with my idea of pushback. Is like, if there was no competition, or if the competition died out, the company would just go to an extreme. It's the same thing with ideas and pushing people, or receiving a little push when you put your opinions out there. It's like, maybe I'm shitting on a game. I remember when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13, I would just shit on games. Actually, not there. Well, it was like 10, 11, 12 was around the time I started playing Black Ops with my friends, Black Ops 1. And I would just shit on other games for no reason. Like, I wouldn't even know what the fuck the gameplay of the game was. And I would just shit on it. And I would just be like, oh, this is kind of like a space thing. This is Halo or whatever. This is this kind of game. Yeah, like, this game fucking sucks, this and that. And I would just shit talk the game and the people. But I wouldn't really know that much about the game. And I'm not saying you need to know everything about the game. But you definitely need to know like a good foundation of what the game is about, or what the show is about, or what the anime is about, to be able to criticize it. A good foundation. You don't need everything, but definitely a good foundation. And the thing is, eventually, I had one of my close friends who also played Black Ops recommend me this anime. Now, other friends recommend me games and animes too. But this time I was like, you know what? Like, I'm kind of a little tired of shitting on things. And this is like the same friend that like kind of has similar interests and views and plays Black Ops with me too. So I thought like, I might as well check it out. And the anime ended up being one of my favorite animes. And it's like, normally, my normal approach would have just been to just shit on the anime for no reason. Just look at the recommendation, see like the first little bit of gameplay or whatever, or video from the anime, and then just like shit on it. Just be like, oh, this is some sort of like whatever, this is based on this and that, this is based on online guns and online MMORPGs, this has typical boy girl story, this and that, they get trapped, this and like swords, like this is so cringe, whatever. People back then didn't use cringe, but you know, you just dismiss it, you just talk shit on it. But then I was like, oh, maybe let me check it out. And it ended up being one of the favorite things I watched. Same thing with League. I got a recommendation from a friend and I just ignored it, shit on the game for like a year. And then later on I went to high school. I had a different friend recommend me, and this was after I watched the anime that my other friend recommended. So then this time they were recommending me League, and I was like, yeah, fuck it. Like, why not? Let me try it. And I tried it, and I also have always really liked the game. One of my favorite games. And so it's like, it's because I started taking those recommendations, because I started like listening to the Pushback, that, and this is, I guess, less about listening or getting pushback or listening to push. It's more about like not full on pushback level, but it's more like recommendations level with a bit of pushback, you know. But I think it's a similar idea for everything, because we're humans, right? So no matter what, we're gonna stray away a bit from whatever sort of central leaning idea we have. You know, it might lean to the left, might lean to the right, but it's very much close to the center. The problem is, if I keep only listening to myself and like I don't kind of like confront other people that have like, that think my opinion is shit and think, you know, maybe it's a video game, maybe I think The Last of Us 2 is complete garbage, you know, someone else might think it's good. There has to be some like sensible like listening between the two parties, you know. Maybe I think League of Legends is like straying too much in like the K-pop artsy like Disney World like girl Korean pop K-pop group thing, and straying too far away from like sort of like dark fantasies, more real world like dark story fantasy. Is steering too far away from that. Someone else might have a different idea, and they're gonna push back on me. But the idea is like we're both sort of pushing back on each other to sort of keep us in check, to sort of not go to that extreme. And I guess right now I can't think of many good examples, but that's the basic idea. It's just like, because I can't think of any examples of like how you'd go to the extremes, but it just happens. Because I mean, it happens to me all the time, where it's not like I go to the extreme, but it's like I'll say something and then eventually, or yeah, I'll be on one line of the thing, then I'll eventually say something on a comment section or to someone, and then someone else will be like, yeah, but it's not actually that bad, or like, or yeah, but this is the reason why they do this and that. And then I'm like, oh shit, maybe they're right, maybe shit, like maybe there is a reason, maybe this game does have a good angle, maybe this character does have a good reason for doing this and this, maybe they didn't break character, you know. I guess a good example is D&D for Game of Thrones. They were too far up their own asses to realize, and there wasn't enough pushback from, I think, the cast or anyone involved to just be like, okay, yo, listen, you guys are fucking retarded. This story makes no sense. Every fucking character is breaking character in the last season of Game of Thrones. You guys are fucking retards. Like, that sort of thing is sort of like the pushback they needed, right? They didn't get that pushback. They didn't get enough of a pushback from literally everyone that should have been pushing back, because people were more respectful and whatever it was. That, I mean, we don't know the reason specifically why they didn't receive enough pushback, but it's like they needed that pushback. They needed people. They needed the cast to be angry. They needed the cast to, like, I remember reading the script reading of season 8, where they do a brief reading of the script of season 8, and it's on YouTube, and you have the whole cast there, like, briefly reading, like sections of season 8, or I think season 8 was the last season, I'm not sure, from Game of Thrones. And the reading ends, and all of these guys are just applauding, and it's just like, they all were concerned, and they all knew, because you see in later interviews that they knew, like, that it was the story was kind of shit, that a lot of characters were breaking character, that the endings weren't satisfactory. And the only person I saw give, like, any sort of, like, a bad feedback was the Varys character. That was just like you could see, like, the visual disapproval on his face, the actor that does for Varys. But even then, I think there wasn't enough of I don't know what they did after the video or whatever, right? Maybe he did bring up his concerns. But the thing is, or the idea is just there wasn't enough of a pushback. If there was enough of a pushback, if more of the cast was just calling out D&D for their BS and their terrible writing, then we wouldn't have seen the disaster that is Game of Thrones Season 8. There needed to be that pushback. A good, strong pushback from the cast, just being like, yo, you guys are too far up your own ass. You guys went too far to the side of cinematics and oh, look at the cinematic battle sequence. Oh, look at this and that. We spent fucking 5 years filming this shit. Like, bro, if the story is garbage, if people are breaking character, that is the foundation, the core of the series. So I think, yeah, there needs to be much pushback in Game of Thrones Season 8. Just like in any idea, story, video game, wherever it is, for example, Final Fantasy Remake, Final Fantasy 7. I guess now I'm coming up with examples out of my ass. Not out of my ass, but like they're now pouring in, basically. Like Final Fantasy Remake, Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Everyone knows it's a piece of shit. People might like it, or people will like it, and they'll say, oh, it's not a piece of shit, this and that. But compared to the original game, you can't look at the two games and say that Final Fantasy 7 Remake isn't doing disservice to the original work. The original work is a masterpiece, and to keep it modernized, they had to remake it, right? But instead of fucking, like, remaking the game as it was, but sort of just bringing it modern, making it modern, even just minor adjustments, like just improving the graphics to bring them to modern day, reducing like the random encounters or removing them, or making just things that the game isn't as time consuming, as grindy as it was. Just so even those simple things, just the graphics and those random encounters, time grinding things, even those small things would have just brought the game to a better level playing field with the games that are released nowadays, right? But they went the complete opposite way. They remade the whole thing, and they did basically Final Fantasy 7 Part 1 out of fucking 35 parts. It's basically the first 5 hours of the original game, and they stretched it out to 30 fucking hours somehow. They created new content up their ass. They introduced a bunch of storylines and character backstories that were never in the fucking game. Now everyone has a fucking backstory that we don't care about, because the original game just this has nothing to do with the original game. So it's like, these guys needed more pushback from whoever the fuck was at the offices of the board of decisions or wherever making the game. Same thing with the consumer nowadays. The consumer receives this shit. You can't tell me this is a good game. You can't tell me this is a masterpiece. You have to call out these people. You have to be like, okay, but why am I getting like Part 1 out of Part 7? and having it be called Final Fantasy 7 Remake. First thing. Second thing, why are we stretching 5 hours to 30 with useless fucking content? That's the thing. That's why we need pushback. We need pushback so that things receive proper feedback on whether they're straying too much from a centralized leaning path. Even like I say, if they're leaning to one side of a preference, they'll still be somewhere close as long as they're good competition or a good pushback. And everyone will stray away a little. Everyone will move a little away. They just need that pushback. That's just human. It's human to stray away a little until you receive the pushback. You just have to be willing to listen so that when you get the pushback, you're able to pick up on it and switch, reassess what you're doing, reassess the strategy, reassess the idea, the action, and change to something else. Change it a little bit. But anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. Please comment, subscribe. This has been Omero 2582 on why pushback is important. And yeah, thanks for watching. Yeah, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Please comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.